November 10th, 2023. I found myself waiting in Wicks, Arkansas for a southbound. I was on my way up to Rich Mountain for a weekend of hanging out with some Railfan buddies and chasing trains all throughout the scenic regions of the former Kansas City Southern Shreveport subdivision. Our goal was to document rail action with the fall colors of the region making up the backgrounds. While not as impressive as somewhere up in the Smokies or the Northeast, these colors are still a massive upgrade from what I see back home in Louisiana. And why is that, you ask? Well, up here, pine trees don't make up 95% of the woods. We're waiting on Manifest Train M262. Today it has a unique leader in the form of KCS 3948, an SD70 Mace. It's not a common occurrence for these to lead road trains such as this. I've heard from numerous employees that these units are an absolute nightmare to run in, but cosmetically you wouldn't be able to tell. After this roll-by, we would backtrack to the Gillum siding to catch one more roll-by before heading north towards the mountain. This was just a small snippet of what's in store for this production, so I hope you will sit back and join me for CPKC through the Ouachita Mountains. Heavener, Oklahoma. There's not much to note of in this small town aside from a few restaurants and a decent railroad presence. It's not really a trip to the region without starting at least one morning here at the fuel racks. Here, road trains transitioning between the Shreveport and Heavener subdivisions will wait for fresh crews while taking on fuel. The common strategy of rail fans in the area is to arrive here to see if any southbounds are lined to traverse through the mountain. We grabbed some breakfast and that's exactly what we do. We see a northbound coal train whose crew will be concluding their day once the train is spotted into the fuel racks. To the left you'll notice the pair of Union Pacific motors. These are the DPUs of a southbound loaded grain that will be departing Heavener momentarily. With the southbound lined up to depart the yard and make way for its upcoming battle against the grades, that was our cue to jump ahead. To give us ample time to fight the shrubbery toting our camera equipment, we jump ahead to what locals call Stapp, Oklahoma. Around milepost 348, the Shreveport sub crosses over Shawnee Creek here and makes a beautiful scene. This is as-needed grain train G390, originating from Jacksonville, Illinois. The train is making its way on a long journey south of the border well into Mexico. Hopper car traffic makes up a sizable percentage of traffic on the newly formed CPKC transcontinental route. In charge of G390 is Kansas City Southern number 4157. This motor is an EMD SD70 ACE locomotive that recently celebrated its 10th birthday, being built in 2013. Trailing second is one of the oh-so-common General Electric ES44ACs. Here we see the G390 making its way through Page, Oklahoma. We approach the state line shared with Arkansas. Aside from the welcome signs, the only thing of notice here is the small State Line Tavern, a dive bar that the locals utilize for extracurricular activities. We film our southbound through a gap in the shrubbery as you can hear these modern locomotives being pushed to their limits against the grade. Now here we have the money shot of the mountain. Just a few miles north of Rich Mountain Summit, this shot was an absolute staple of the KCS. Being used in promotional advertisements since the 1940s and 50s, it's easy to see why. The track slitters in an S-curve while rolling right by Big Creek. With the Ouachita mountain ranges making up the backdrop, the cameras just do not give this location justice. G390 continues southward through the Rich Mountain siding where we see a northbound oil train in the hole. The tanker had BNSF power on the lead, so we opted to continue following the southbound. We wrap up this chase in Eagleton, where G390 will swing around the tight curve. The grainer has finally beat the grades and is now coasting downhill towards Mena. After a quick break, we head back north to Heavener where we find another southbound preparing for departure. This time, instead of the KCS Retro Bells, we have a pair of Canadian Pacific Candy Apple Reds. Both of these motors are AC 4400s, but the one in the lead has a few differences. While trailing motor 9719 is a standard AC 4400 CW, 8009 is an AC 4400 CWM. The M in the designation fittingly stands for modernized. Many of the 8000 and 8100 series locomotives in Canadian Pacific's roster were sent to General Electric facilities a few years ago in Erie, Pennsylvania for rebuild. Along with new cabs, fuel efficiency, general reliability, and upgraded trucks were just some of the upgrades installed on these motors. Anyway, 8009 here is leading a loaded rail train southbound. Since the merger between the two Class 1s, there has been an uprise in upgrades along the system, such as new sidings and general rail replacement. Not sure where this one is exactly bound for, but nonetheless, we were excited to snag some shots. Loaded rail trains have speed restrictions of 25 miles per hour, so this would be a walk in the park. At the siding in Page, we find another northbound, this one a tank train. This train is 0577, and it is waiting on the main line for our rail train to take the siding. This train is hauling crude oil empties back up to Alberta, Canada from Port Arthur, Texas. The conductor steps off to perform standard roll-by inspection as our rail train approaches. The conductor gives the word that it is a good roll-by, and he will climb back on board 0577. The rail train has been instructed to halt at the south end of the siding to allow a few more northbounds pass, and one of those would be the I-181, the hotshot MMX intermodal service. As you can see, the deal with Schneider National that CPKC secured earlier this year is in full swing, with a majority of the containers sporting their bright orange corporate colors. And following the stacks comes the autorack cars. While the intermodal industry has become much more competitive since the formation of the railroad, the autorack business will soon be following suit. Definitely keep your eyes open in the coming months and years. It's going to get interesting. Southward toward the Rich Mountain siding again, we time a perfect meet between our rail train and a Union Pacific haulage right coal train CA69. We'll catch back up with the UP coal later in the afternoon, but first we decide to grab a shot of the rail train in Acorn as it rounds the curve ahead and heads straight for us. With no more northbounds coming anytime soon, we haul it back north into Oklahoma, and we find another coal train hauling south in Poteau on the Heavener subdivision. The BNSF coal trains you see in this video are bound for the TXU plants in Martin Lake, Texas. In Shreveport, these trains will hop off CPKC rails and utilize the UP line to link back up with home BNSF rails in Texas. Remember that UP coal I mentioned we'd see later? Well, here it is again with a fresh crew making its way northbound with a colorful consist. Here we see it approaching Shady Point. As you can see, Peyton here was a little too excited shooting a nose-in DPU, and a Union Pacific one nonetheless. A few miles south in Howe, Oklahoma, former Rock Island tri-light signals still guard the diamond that has long been pulled up. While the rock is long gone, nowadays the former main line is utilized by the short line company called the Arkansas and Oklahoma Railroad. Our final train of the afternoon would be southbound G386 with more foreign UP power in the lead. We couldn't catch a break this trip with KCS leaders, but that's how it's always been up here in recent years. It is the morning of November 12th, and it's about time to head back south to Louisiana. But before that, we use a few of the morning hours to set up at Page for a meet between coal trains. The loaded southbound is slowing down to a halt to allow a northbound empty to pass. It's unknown how long these coal trains will be seen on the mountain. With the country shifting towards greener and renewable energy, these coals that have been a staple of traffic through the mountain could very well fade into history. But who knows when this will be. Our final train through the mountain would be a northbound M263. Navigating the S-curve of Big Creek, it makes an excellent video clip to end the day. I really hope you've enjoyed this production of CPKC freight action in the Ouachita Mountains of Arkansas and Oklahoma. If you did enjoy, please leave a like down below, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Until the next time, I'll be seeing you somewhere out there along the rails, and as always, my friends, thanks for watching.